Soldier right now, social media.
This is an awakening.
Snap out of it!
The light dome.
But I can manage. So what you see here is an image of Captain Ibrahim Traore, who is the leader of Burkina Faso. Most of you uh, are likely, if you've been paying attention to the media lately, you likely already know who this person is. You may even know what he's been up to, as well. You also may or may not know a lot of the things that momentum I was telling you about that's been building up. A lot of attention, a lot of interest directed towards this brother. Now, I think that recently the brother has started to get even more attention on top of the abundance of attention that he's already been getting because of the things he's been doing. Now, let me go back a few years just to remind you that this is the same Ibrahim Traore that led a populist coup. I say a populist coup because it was a coup that was motivated by the people of Burkina Faso themselves. It's not like, a what you might think of as a military coup that was just, some strong armed soldiers or army or militia or whatnot taking over the government. This wasn't that type of coup. It was accomplished by military personnel, but at in sync with, if you would, with the people of Burkina Faso. In other words, this is what they wanted to happen. They were in favor of this happening. That the government that they had prior to Ibrahim Traore was not up to the standards that the people wanted. They weren't doing the bidding of the people. Instead, they were doing the bidding of foreign governments, most notably France. And when this coup took place, it toppled that French-backed regime and replaced it with the leadership of Ibrahim Traore. And with that came a lot of reforms and restructuring of the government of Burkina Faso. And similar events have taken place in neighboring countries, Mali and Niger. But I think that a great deal or more attention has been given to Burkina Faso because of the demonstration and the character of its leadership. So, what I wanted to do, if I can, real quick, I wanted to share with you a list of. Let me make sure I'm doing this right. All right, there you go. I want to share with you a list of at least what is having here 20 achievements of Ibrahim Traore as the leader of Burkina Faso. But before I do that, there's a reason why I want to show you this list. Because recently, another personality has uh, made some claims against Ibrahim Traore. The very personality that I'm talking about, let me go ahead and bring this up, is a military personnel, of the United States military. So let's see here. If I can get that picture out. Yeah, I'm definitely working on a different set of equipment here. It's not quite like what I'd like to be using right now, but it'll have to do. So let me share this picture with you. Okay, so um, okay. I'm just looking at some of the details that I had in my notes. So the picture that you see here is of a U.S. Army General Langley, I believe his last name is pronounced, and according to Langley, I'm making sure I got power here, so I might have to pause because it looks like I'm losing some power. According to Langley, he made some claims against Ibrahim Traore. So I guess I'll put the claims out first, and then I will build on what I want to say about everything. So basically, the claims were concerning um, Ibrahim Traore's use of the minerals that are in Burkina Faso, particularly gold. The claim being that he is hoarding the gold and for the benefit of his own person, right? That's the claim. And I would like to show you the video if I had the clip. I thought I had the clip showing this, but as you see, I have the picture. But uh, give me a moment, and I'll try to, while we're talking, I'll try to get that clip together because there's something that came to my mind as this general is responding to a question being asked to him by a um, a panel. Some members of the panel, or a member of the panel, was asking him questions. And I'm the type of person, whenever I watch something or hear something or hear somebody speak or see events going on, I'm often thinking about the cameraman and what is behind questions. I'm always thinking about these things rather than just the the scenes themselves that you see. Like for example, when 9/11 happened, I'm thinking about the cameras that are catching the event. I'm like, these cameras are seemingly timely placed to catch the event because that makes me wonder, at the people presenting the footage. You understand? Uh, you know, in such a way. And in this case, you know, the timeliness of the kinds of questions that were being asked and the way that this general responded. I'm going to try to get this video up. things have been real sluggish when it comes to um, getting, the network and the videos playing right. So let's see if I can get that video. It's very, very sluggish. All right. Um, and I will say this: I would encourage every time you watch something, be from the mainstream media, especially, think about the camera people. Think about the way things are being presented to you. You understand? Because sometimes there is a telltale uh, element in there. I'll give you a good example. Recently, if you remember, there was a pope who passed away, right? They had a funeral procession, a scene or whatnot, the ceremony for his passing away. There was an event where there was an African or a black man who wanted to pay his respects. They denied him entry, and you saw on the camera him walking out and sort of protesting his feelings about not being allowed in. And while I'm watching this, I'm just thinking about the person, the camera that's showing this. And I'm looking at the angle that the camera is in the position of amongst the people that are observing this. And I'm thinking about the timing. I'm thinking about the timing, that in connection with rumors of a possible black pope being elected. And I'm just looking at all of this in kind of like a person reading a storybook. You're just like, okay, that in this part, this is what's happening. In this part, this is happening, making me think. I tend not to be one of those that just takes things as you put it on the plate. I'm going to look at it and see what it is. Um, then I can decide whether or not I wish to consume what's on the plate before me. But let's see here. Let's see if I can give you a good clip of this encounter or this conversation between the panel and General Langley, right? And I would like you to think about the timing. This is the thing I'm poking out. The timing of this general speaking on this. I mean, if you think about the way that the panel's questioning and discussing, then it's almost like out of the blue that this general decides to uh, communicate these accusations about Ibrahim Traore. So let me see if I can bypass. Okay, there, yeah. So I'm gonna say a disclaimer. The disclaimer being that the footage that I'll be showing you is not of our platform, and is simply being used for educational and reporting purposes. Okay, so let me go ahead. Stop sharing the picture there. I think you guys were able to see the picture. I hope so. Um, that I showed you, and let me share this. I'm hoping that there's not too much lag on this feed, the streaming, because I know my network is very, very, it's not very strong. So let me go to this, that. Make sure the sound is able to play. And let's see what we can do. All right, let's work with this. So, as you can see, it says in the title, Senate Armed Services Committee holds a hearing to discuss the FY 2026 Defense Authorization Request. That's what that's what this thing was about. So they're talking about whatever has to do with the FY 2026 Defense Authorization Request. Okay, now listen to the question that this gentleman right here asked General Langley. Just think about the question and then think about how General Langley responds to the question. Listen carefully to the choice of words.
Ask a few more questions here as we hopefully recess. Africa is a mineral-rich, resource-rich continent. Is that correct?
Yes, Chairman.
Okay, and you can leave the microphone on. Which are there success stories for the citizens of African countries when these larger, more prosperous nations?
Okay, so I want to just point out real quick. So already, right, you hear him talking about he almost emphasized it in his choice of words: mineral rich, letting you know from the beginning of his comment or his speaking point. The concern is mineral rich Africa, mineral rich. So that's before this general is even responding to what this man has to say. So just think about that comment, mineral rich. And let me just put this ahead of that. Let's remind you that because of the tariffs and whatnot that have been put forth by American leadership, a lot of things have been hindered from, trade, such as things like even magnets. Even giving Elon Musk a hard time with his Optimus robots. You understand? Where certain minerals are being taken off the list as tradable items from between America and China, for example. A lot of like precious minerals that are only available in China. Now that's something to think about. That given the environment, that minerals that any other scenario or time would normally be traded between China and the USA are now put on pause because of the tariff wars and whatnot, as you would. So think about that. This FY 2026, meaning there's something they're projecting to achieve either in the year 2026 or on the way to 2026. That's what this defense authorization request is about. Let's continue. So now he was talking about Africa in particular, and understand politicians like to frame and paint a certain picture. You understand? This is public news. This is public, a public presentation or whatnot. Anyone is able to see it. So it's not a private conversation at this point. So think about all that. Let me play.
Or companies from more prosperous areas come in and exploit these minerals. What I'm asking is that does it ever?
Now, when he's talking about the prosperous, he's alluding to the Russia and China involvement in Africa. You understand? While at the same time not pointing out the fact that the U.S. is also in Africa extracting resources and whatnot, i.e. Congo. So let's continue.
redound to the benefit of the citizens there in Africa?
Chairman, there's very few cases. When the Chinese Communist Party is outed on them pulling out raw materials, not benefiting the populations of the host country, they've been trying to come up with ways how they can stay there and process only at the protests of the people of these African countries that host these mineral resources.
He's saying right here that, like, for example, China's efforts to extract mineral resources in Africa is against the position of the populace in the countries that they're doing it in. That's what he's claiming. He's saying that that China is trying to find ways to. He's trying to imply that China is manipulating Africans. That's what I'm understanding. He's trying to imply that, like, basically Africans can't understand that you know, like we don't have any brain of our own to think with. That's the implication. Understand that, you know, kind of like, oh, they don't know any better, so we need to do something about it. They don't know any better. They don't know what's happening to them. Look at them. They're being manipulated. They're being abused. We got to do something about that.
Okay. So is there any exception? Can you point to any success story where the people of one country or one or two countries have actually benefited substantially?
Not on China's behalf.
Okay.
So right there, he's the response is the question he's asked was there any countries that he can think of that are being successful because of China's involvement in their countries? Are there any success stories? He's asking. So, and he's already denying that there's any success stories. Obviously, he's ignoring the road development. He's ignoring the medical facilities. He's ignoring a lot of inner city development and whatnot. A lot of exchange between China and some of the countries that they're involved in. When we're talking about the success story question.
Not on China's behalf. Just what happened in Zambia when they had the spillage into the river that services 5 million people. There's just these mining concessions. It just doesn't turn out real well for the African countries.
And do the countries that are receiving entreaties from the Belt and Road Initiative, are they more and more mindful of that now and therefore reluctant?
Yes, and that's where we need to be able to do information operations to illuminate some of the.
Listen to the choice of words. He needs to do what? Information operation. We have to pay attention when you've got a person of this status speaking about foreign matters. It makes sense to pay close attention to the choice of words because he's not being reckless. This is a general. He can't be reckless with what he has to say, even if it's not accurate. Even if he's telling you a lie, he still has to make those lies stick. You understand? He's got to make it stick. So that means he's got to be on record saying choice words so that whatever actions follow those words, you understand, have some form of justification, at least as far as their perspective is concerned.
The irregularities and some of the malign type activities of the Chinese in the African countries.
Information and narratives are power then, aren't they?
Absolutely. And as I said a few minutes ago, and I always will tout this, that we own the facts. We own the facts. We know exactly what the Chinese Communist Party is doing.
So he's admitting that they have the facts, meaning they know the truth. That doesn't mean he's saying the truth. they know the truth. They're aware of the facts. It doesn't mean that they're going to reveal them to you. It means that they're aware of it. They have knowledge of it.
To some degree what the Russian Federation is doing in their propaganda operations, but we don't own the narrative.
Yeah,
Both of them own the narrative.
We sure don't. One more thing for you, General Langley. The approach that we have had with USAID and the other things like the
USAID is the aid programs, the so-called aid programs that recently, if you know, Trump has been canceling them out as far as so-called support systems in Africa, canceling them out.
President's initiative on AIDS. How does our U.S. approach compare and contrast to the approach of Russia in Africa and also communist China in Africa?
Oh, Chairman, we've always had the lead. So what you're seeing in those two competitors or challengers, they're following in our wake. They see what works as far as our influence and deepening partnerships through those soft powers, whether it be health diplomacy or whether it be in development type programs. So they're following in our wake, trying to replicate what we do best. And I think the African countries know this. And so this is where, as we start to look at going forward, as State Department starts to reset these programs, looking at what worked and what didn't work and doubling down on what does work, I think we have enough capital built up in these countries for them to ensure their stabilization and also prosperity. The other two competitors are just trying to replicate what we do best.
I can imagine a situation, though, in which the ruling elite of a country is receiving gratuities on the side.
Listen carefully. Listen to the choice of words.
That in order to the benefit of the strong man.
So right there, he's alluding to people or countries accepting support or agreements with countries other than the U.S. For example, certain alliance building efforts between certain African countries and with Russia and with China. Although he the way he worded it was almost as if he was making light of the matter. But let's see how this general responds.
Man, leader, and not to the populace of the country. Does that sort of
so that part right there, and you can always look at this again, is that part that I was saying where once again they are making it as if the populists are under a stranglehold. They don't have any choice in the matter. They don't have any their things are happening that they are not in favor of. It's just a bunch of strong men taking over the country, then building allegiances with one of the adversaries of the U.S., and the people are just forced to go along because they can't think for themselves. There's no favorable perspectives from the people. They've been tricked. They've been deceived because of propaganda, so on and so on. That's what's been said so far through this conversation. You got information campaigning, all this stuff going on. So the people are they're out of their mind. They don't know how to think for themselves. So these people are implying right here.
corruption and bribery go on with regard to the Belt and Road?
Absolutely, Chairman. I see this, and I don't mind calling them out, but Captain Traore and Burkina Faso, as they know that both, whether it's their gold reserves, that is all their gold reserves.
Okay, remember at the beginning of this, what I played, what did he say? Mineral rich. So already you know that they've got a thirst, a taste for, they're looking for minerals. Remember in Ukraine, when there was a meeting between the President Trump and the President of Ukraine, they were trying to negotiate a ceasefire on the basis of an agreement, you understand, with Ukraine allowing U.S. to access its minerals. That was the main thing. They're targeting these minerals. They're after these minerals because they know that the places where similar minerals are at, they can't get them because there is a war is going on multiple levels right now. You understand, including economic war. You understand, making sure that, look, okay, you can't have this because we know you. If you have this, you will use it for military purposes against us. In fact, that's what was discussed between one of the Chinese representatives and Elon Musk. You got to, if you want these minerals, you got to show us somehow that you're not going to use them for military purposes. And, of course, Elon Musk says, well, we're not going to use them for military purposes. But China's saying, well, how are you going to prove that to us? So here he is talking about.
Know that both, whether it's their goal
to the Belt and Road.
Absolutely, Chairman. I see this, and I don't mind calling them out, but Captain Traore and Burkina Faso, as they know that both, whether it's.
So he did a little trick there. I hope he caught it. He said both. He said Captain Ibrahim Traore and Burkina Faso, as if we were dealing with two separate entities. Here's Captain Traore and here's Burkina Faso. Now he wants to break this down. Let's listen.
Whether it's their gold reserves,
minerals, gold reserves.
All those proceeds are just in exchange to protect the junta regime. There's a number of examples across, even in Sudan. Okay. What's going on?
That's the part I wanted to end up with. Him trying to tie that in with Sudan. By doing that, now they could build later on, because you already know that there were certain conflicts in Sudan, so much so that it divided the country into two countries. And that was centered around the resources in the land. Now, in this case, by making a parallel between Burkina Faso and Sudan, they're trying to frame the event of Ibrahim Traore as simply being another strong-arm man coup or another conflict, militia-based conflict or military-based conflict between two sides fighting over resources. And so even he's expressing that, okay, he's harvesting and hoarding the gold to protect himself. You understand? Understand that this is a representative of Burkina Faso. Now, let me explain to you. Hopefully, you can still hear me. That we've got some things to share about Ibrahim Traore. And, if this was like a court of law, you might consider these character witnesses and even eyewitnesses on the behalf of the defendant, which in this case is Ibrahim Traore. So the objective here is in defense of Brother Ibrahim Traore. At the same time, consider the objective of the U.S. regarding Ibrahim Traore, and imagine that they fail in the process. And how would they fail? Why would they fail? This is what we need to talk about. And imagine that they do fail. What grade of embarrassment would that be upon them? if we go back in time and think about other people who have been compared with Brother Ibrahim Traore, um, and compared because of what they were striving for. What were they striving for? They were striving for the sovereignty of their country, the independence of their country, and to break away from the effects of colonialism. That is, the countries that had occupied them, and even at a point in time, involved the country in enslavement and so on. So even when these particular countries so-called gained their freedom, these colonial powers were still involved with the country for what? Mineral resources, for among other things. So imagine, for example, France being the one who had colonized Burkina Faso, now being kicked out, now no longer having access to the mineral rich country. And that obviously, when they're looking at their stocks, when they're looking at their resources or whatnot, their inventory, they see it plummeted because they had a nice, healthy, connection to the supply line. Thomas Sankara, one of those who came before Brother Ibrahim Traore, had a similar mission of wanting to free Burkina Faso. At that time, you can think of it as that social media, as you see it today, it was not existing in that way in Sankara's time. So communication wasn't as strong as it is today. Getting the word out wasn't as powerful as it is today. And unfortunately, the powers that be were able to shame and blame Sankara enough so that by the time anybody could do anything about it, men were already prepared to assassinate him, including his right-hand man. In fact, that's the one they say did it. So that's just one example of, this journey of countries that have been subject to colonialism, trying to shake and break free from the chains of that impact, right? One of the things that I've heard and resonates with me as a person who believes in the unification of our people, who believes in restoring us to our rightful footing on this earth, is the use of an old tactic that the U.S. and many Western countries have used before, but particularly in the U.S. When they want to get you, it's interesting that they never go directly. They never say, "Oh, you're the enemy. Boom, we're coming to get you." Pow, there it is. It's never like that. They have to spread propaganda first. They have to get alliances first from neighboring or other countries who could say, "Yeah, we don't like this guy. He's a bad man." Da 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 da. They've got to do all these tricks and rabbit out the hat tricks first before they go and try to handle the person. When you have, for example, as an example, Muammar Gaddafi of Libya, he had been doing his great achievements and whatnot in Libya for quite some time. Free healthcare, education, wanted to reform the currency and so on. It took them quite some time to defame him, ridicule his efforts, shine no light on his achievements, but bring him down low in the eyes of enough people to where the powers that be felt they had enough momentum to now go in and deal with him personally. By the time the the populace, as in other people who might have been supportive of Gaddafi, would have been able to respond, the job was already done. You understand? The situation here is much, 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 much different with Captain Ibrahim Traore. Why? Because this is the age of very fast communication. And in addition to that, as a people, the diaspora, the people of the land of Africa, and even other supporters from other countries, amongst other people and cultures who have observed Ibrahim Traore and have spoken in his favor, communication is fast and word has gotten around fast. The deeds and actions of Ibrahim Traore have gotten around fast, so much so that it would be so difficult for a person to try to shame and blame Ibrahim Traore without some, act of the devil, in some way, somehow, for them to make some kind of immediate move. What have we learned in the United States? We know that when they want to bring you down and they know that you are an empowered black man, they've got to get someone that looks like you to start shaming and blaming you, because that's part of their need to justify. See, even your own people are saying something about you. Even your own person said that you are no good. This is your own people. So we're not, this isn't racism. You can't charge us with racism, because look, this is this is not just any black man. This is a general, a well decorated general that's telling you this about this other man. So you can cancel out racism. We're not being racist. Even while that's happening, what is France doing? France has a Burkina Faso diaspora there. People who are living the high life, the shiny life, the night life, or whatever you want to call it, the celebrity life, living nice. They've lived comfortably in France. They've got to experience being, eating sweet meats and, swimming in jacuzzis or whatever. They don't want to lose any of that. So France is like, well, it looks like you guys are living pretty nice here. We've been treating you pretty good, haven't we? We need you guys to look at what Burkina Faso is doing over there. Look at that coup that's kicked your own, us, the people who treated you so kindly, kicked you out, kicked us out of there. Now we're going to be having a shortage of resources and minerals, and it'll make it kind of hard for us to keep this nice life that you've been living. We got the point. Okay. So once again, you get your own faces on the camera saying, shame Burkina Faso, shame Ibrahim Traore, right? All over again. Get your own likeness to speak out against you. This is the nature of an antichrist. This is the nature of all these type of scenarios where one of your own is used to defeat you. In ancient Kemet, the entity was known as Set. In the Bible, the entity is known as is Lucifer. In the Quran, Iblis. You name it, the character I'm talking about. I'm not trying to get too religious or whatnot, but I'm trying to get a theme that is been played out and played out and played out. And even Ibrahim Traore has spoken and warned about these same matters, being aware. So I'm noticing these things. I'm listening to this general speak, and it lets me know the agenda. It can let anybody know that pays any attention. The agenda. Ibrahim Traore is a stumbling block in their chase, their pursuits. You understand? There are three world powers that are, in fact, challenging, or two world powers that are challenging the once perceived global authority, the United States. You can look. I would recommend you check out some of. I'm gonna pronounce the name. I'm gonna try to pronounce the name right. I'm gonna put it in the chat. Shahid Bolzan. Look up Shahid Bolzan whenever you get a chance. And if you already know, you already know. Look up Shahid Bolzan and pick a video. Pick any of his presentations and start there and listen to what the brother has to say. And that might open some of your eyes to a perspective that I think would be useful in this particular matter here. So Shahid Bolzan, if anybody's watching, if you're able to type that name in the chat, you know, that'll save some time. But we need to pay attention. We need to pay attention because there are so many angles to this that have to be recognized. It's not a one act battle. In other words, this isn't about just one thing. It's a combination of things to achieve a certain end. One of the things that you'll learn is what it's like to be an empire on a decline, an empire falling apart. We can speak on that in terms of, you know, prophetic terms and in pattern, historical patterns, you name it. But I want to deal with something more. I think it's more important for us to pay attention to, and that's the number of voices that are speaking in support of Captain Ibrahim Traore. I've been looking, and all you have to do is Google it. And I can guarantee you that for the most part, because I haven't seen anything to the contrary yet, for the most part, the majority of the videos that you'll find will be voices in support of Captain Ibrahim Traore, which is interesting because this is YouTube we're talking about. Just not even YouTube, but Google Ibrahim Traore and just look at how many voices are speaking in favor of Captain Ibrahim Traore. And this is something that, unfortunately, ones like Muammar Gaddafi and Thomas Sankara didn't have the benefit of. And maybe if they had the benefit of, we might still be, talking about or able to see ruling Libya Gaddafi to this day, because the powers that were against him would not have been able to have the same momentum or justification. There would have been too many eyes, too many ears observing him, like they are observing Captain Ibrahim Traore all across Africa, high and low. Governments are impressed. Ghana is so impressed that they said, "Oh, okay, we're going to go ahead and make sure that our gold is ours too, and that if you ain't from Ghana, you don't have nothing to do with the gold here." Where did they get this idea from? Where did they get this idea from? While we're on it, let's take a look at some of the achievements of Captain Ibrahim Traore. Let's get off of this guy and take a look at some of the achievements of Captain Ibrahim Traore, and then ask yourself if they match anything that General Langley had to say. If anything that he said, and he didn't say too much, but he said enough to try to make an attack, to try to be an instrument to the U.S. agenda in Africa. And all they need is a little something to work with, and they start to try to build their case on that. They won't talk to any credible people in Africa. They won't talk to any credible people in the United States or in the West. They'll talk to the leadership of France, probably. Look forward to that. Look forward to more French rhetoric, including more cameras on Black Africans in France. Look for more of that, speaking against Ibrahim Traore. Nobody in Burkina Faso. They're not going to show anybody in Burkina Faso because they know if they bring a camera and the media down there or up there, they're going to have some people shouting champion, people shouting Ibrahim Traore. They know they're not going to find anything that would support their claims. So they've got to go to locations, to places where they know they can get a black face talking to you, and in countries that had been wounded by the behaviors of the uncanny behaviors of Ibrahim Traore. But let's see what he's done. What are they complaining about? What is all the noise about that this general is making? What's the complaint? Let's see. Let us share this page right here. A list of achievements of Ibrahim Traore is what I typed. I didn't have to go far to look for this. You can type it right now, and I think this will be one of the top clips that you find. Let's get started. So the first one they pointed out was one of the first ones that I learned about, and that was the tomato plant. I think tomato plants, if last I checked, they cost a lot of money to set up a plant. So I'm just thinking about Langley's claim that he's hoarding all this gold to protect himself. Which even if that was even if he needed some of that to protect himself, it does make sense because last I checked, just like we're going to look at 20 achievements, we also have the same Ibrahim Traore being the victim of 20 assassination attempts to the present time that reports are saying. 20 attempts at his life, 20 attempts to unalive this man or perform a coup of a sort. So that aside, let's continue with the 20 list of achievements of Captain Ibrahim Traore. Country's first tomato processing plant. Aims to reduce post-harvesting losses, enhance local value addition, and decrease dependence on imported tomato products. Why is that important? It may not seem heavy to some people, but understand when you grow tomatoes in your own country, right? You're growing tomatoes in your own country, but you got to ship them overseas to be processed. And then you get the packages of, imagine that. Imagine you grow tomatoes, ship them to France, and you got to pay however much money just to get some ketchup or get some tomato sauce or tomato paste or you name it. Gold processing plant. There's that gold again, right? That gold that General Langley's interested in, the rich minerals of Burkina Faso. So now they're able to, not only do they have control over the gold in their own land, but now they can also process it and refine it. They're building the ability to refine it. That means when you have gold in its raw form, it doesn't have the same value of refined gold. When it's refined gold, like a diamond ring, a wedding ring, the nice shiny carat gold, when it's refined, it costs more. It's more valuable because it's polished. It has more attractiveness, right? Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Facility is designed to process gold domestically, aiming to produce approximately 400 kilograms of gold per day. 100 direct jobs. Remember, he was just being accused of hoarding the gold for himself. So here is not only a gold refinery being built, creating jobs, which means that people have to get paid, you understand? But it creates a system within the country able to support and develop the country itself from where the gold's coming from. $5,000 indirect jobs. hydroelectric dam. I didn't even know about that one. I knew they were doing some things, advancing their electric infrastructure. And that also ties some deals with Russia helping into the development. So this right here is pretty cool too. A lot of power in a well-designed hydro electric dam. And just so you know, if memory serves me correct, prior to this, much of the electric, like going to Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, was coming from like other countries like Nigeria, and where, like, let's say they didn't do something Nigeria didn't like, they can cut off the power, they can do anything to oppress or try to force the hand of these countries. Developing their power infrastructure frees them of these kind of dependencies and these type of manipulation tactics. Nuclear energy, yes, that's what I was talking about. And you see there, the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin. This, you need to understand this in a leadership perspective. Building ties with larger countries, larger economies, in a day and age where you've been subjected to needing to abide by certain standards from foreign countries, such as the West, former colonizers, where you can't even make your own choices or decisions. I'm hearing my voice echo, pardon me. Where you can't even make your own decisions unless it's approved. Imagine, for example, remember that U.S. aid we were talking about, that they were talking about earlier? Imagine you being denied aid simply because you were trying to make decisions for your country that the people themselves desire. But you're being told, oh, if you do that, we are going to not give you aid. For example, think about what happened in Uganda. When Uganda, the people supported a legislation or a ruling or whatnot that was about the nature of marriage, man and woman, marriage being between man and woman, and that anything outside of that is considered illegal in Uganda. Well, immediately the West was like, okay, if you do that, we're not going to give you this, we're not going to give you that, we're going to, we're going to break you down. You understand? And Uganda was like, well, this is what the people have pushed for. This is what the people want. When you're tied to these aid programs, these so-called aid programs, there's rope attached, not string attached, rope attached. You understand me? So, two forms of energy they've talked about so far: the hydro dams, and now the nuclear energy. That's a lot of energy. I have a feeling that pretty soon, other countries that might be needing energy are going to be looking towards Burkina Faso for a little bit of a look out for a brother. We look out for a brother. We're having blackouts every day. Look out for a brother. Remember, this is 20 achievements. I think we've only passed 3 or 4. Country's first nuclear power plant. Collaboration with Vladimir Putin during the Russia-African summit. Big moves, family. That's what I'm talking. Big moves that leaders do. Leaders make big moves. Road network. And I think it's important for you to see this so you can know why people are supporting Brother Ibrahim Traore, why there are so many groups across the world, Africans, diaspora, and even people who are not diaspora or Africans, standing up for the brother, because they're seeing this, they're watching this. How do you see this and then think that this person's some kind of tyrant or wicked strongman. How do you see this, knowing what Burkina Faso was like prior to this under its previous authority? Now you see this going on. How do you frame a person like that for something illegal or something criminal? You taking a look at this? I gotta put some power to this laptop. Yes, that's a lot. What I'm going to do is let's see, how much time? Is I'm gonna pause it right there because I'm hoping that you got the point. We didn't even get through all the 20 list of achievements that this brother has done. And you'll note that these are no small achievements. They're no like little, he took out the trash or he shook some hands of a few leaders from other countries. No, these are game-changing achievements that affect the entire country of Burkina Faso. You understand? And on top of that, they're visible to the citizens of other African countries. They're seeing this, they're watching this, and watching it with admiration, which means that they themselves would be motivated and influenced by what this brother is doing. Now, with that in mind, it makes me think of a quote, excuse me, that I heard once while watching the movie Malcolm X. There was a cop standing on the stairs while Malcolm X was standing in front of his following, right? When he commanded the following to march, the officer is quoted to have saying, "That's too much power for one man to have. And they're not just talking about any man. This isn't a case of just any man, because we could look at other countries who have had experienced coups and even other things. Even in Africa, I don't want to point any elbows to Egypt, but if you remember, Egypt had a democratically elected president. Let me say that again, because this is all about democracy, right? Egypt had a democratically elected president overthrown by a coup. If I remember, his name is Mohamed Morsi, overthrown by the current president Sisi. Okay, that was a coup. The president you see in Egypt now is sitting there as a person put in power through a coup. That's what you have there right now. Obviously, there was no desire to remove him from power. There was no desire to feel like the resources or whatnot that Egypt has plenty of there was being threatened or hoarded or whatnot. Mind you, Egypt is borderlining another country that happens to be an ally of the United States. And that particular country is also involved in a current conflict as we speak. So, I don't mean to just point out blatant hypocrisy, but there it is. Now, I've also been taking note at other voices, other strong voices in Africa and abroad, right? One of the popular voices being from Julius Malema. Let's see if I can show you. This image right here. So this is Julius Malema, and even in this most recent speaking event, he points out Ibrahim Traore. He speaks in favor of Ibrahim Traore. And why is it important when I talk about Julius Malema? Because he's a very strong voice in South Africa, right? He's not a small voice at that. So it started making me wonder. Let me get this out so it can stop echoing. It started making me wonder when I'm hearing voices high and voices low, standing up, speaking up for Brother Ibrahim Traore. Even voices from other countries who aren't even of African descent or what have you. You understand? Speaking up for Ibrahim Traore. I've seen a number of whites speaking in his defense. Number of people from like other European countries speaking in his defense, as well as from America. Particularly African and diaspora. Some of us even coming to the extent of saying, don't touch him, don't do anything to him because they will, feel a certain kind of way. What I'm asking, as courageous as our voices are sounding right now, are you truly prepared to step up for a situation of this nature? Are we truly prepared? Because I'm thinking to myself, if this entity were to pursue the aims, the agenda that they desire, what will you do about it? What will be different from this pursuit, from the pursuit that found its conclusion in the loss of life, the unaliving of Muammar Gaddafi? leader, president of Libya? What would be the different thing that would prevent that from happening again? What would these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of voices in Africa and abroad do or be willing to do to ensure that Brother Ibrahim Traore remains untouchable? To this date, there's the count of attempts against his life. Last I checked was 20, right? 20 attempts against his life. And the thing that impresses me out of that is that you don't see the brother shaken or stirred. You don't see Brother Ibrahim Traore shaken. You don't see him stirred. You understand? And you see an abundance of people speaking in favor of supporting Ibrahim, in support of Ibrahim Traore. So what I want to do right now, I'm going to put a link in the chat because I'm interested to know where our hearts are as a people. And I'm wondering, through all the support that I've seen on many of the YouTube channels, on many of the Instagram feeds, stepping up for the brother in a way that's unlike any support that I've ever seen throughout my own life. And this is in an age of social media, age of, like I said, rapid information. I want to invite you to share your thoughts about this, because for many years, for quite some time now, many people have been scared to even bat an eye against Western powers. But as the days progress, we're seeing more strength in our voices. We're seeing more strength in our resolve. And even through this example of Brother Ibrahim Traore, we're seeing strength in being active. This brother is not a brother who sits down on the job, per se. But immediately when the position of authority, of leadership, came upon him, he went straight to work. So much so that he even manifested what kind of a person he is through his own example, reducing his own pay to the same pay that he had been given as a captain. The same pay rate. He didn't want to be paid as a president. He says, I'm not a politician. I'm a military man. And a military man's job is to protect his people, quote unquote. So we're seeing a lot of things take place. While all this is happening, we're seeing at large great countries brewing the voice of war. You see China getting closer and closer to involvements with Thailand. You see technological bouts happening, so much so that it's affecting trade of resources, mineral resources. You're seeing the investments that were meant to so-called support the defense of Ukraine starting to dwindle, and its face changing into being clearly NATO, being boots on the ground as the opponents of Russia. You're seeing all of these things right before your very eyes. Masks being pulled off, people coming out to demonstrate exactly what's in them to demonstrate, countries showing you who they really are, what they're really about, what they're really made of, what their interests are. He said it at the beginning, mineral rich. They need these minerals because without these minerals, they can't be the strong people that they believe themselves to be. They can't be the tyrants that they once were. Without the resources, they can't do it. You understand? You have to be in a position for them to manipulate the bodies around you, the countries around you, manipulate their minds into belittling you, shaming you, blaming you, bringing you low. And they've got to make sure that you can't do anything to them that might actually harm them. All these factors have to be in play for them to see an opportunity to demolish you and have their way with you. They're not going to come in at you until they've assured that the coast is clear, that the opinions are on their side, that justification is on their side, that the way to a clear victory is on their side, at least clear to their perspective of getting what they're trying to get at is on their side. If those things aren't there, they don't move a muscle. So what is this saying about this particular superpower? I'm not saying that it doesn't have muscle, but there's something about this kind of bully that is really starting to tell on itself. So much so that when you bring to light its crimes, it gets a little nervous. Why is it getting nervous when you expose its crimes, when it can't defend itself against your claims? This brother, Ibrahim Traore, is making moves regardless of how much it offends the adversaries that he has. He's doing it regardless. He's doing it as though he can. And you can clearly see that, yes, he can. And he is able to do so because as a leader, he made wise choices. It is wise to know that, you two are enemies, but you over here, you're not necessarily my enemy. These people have shown shady tactics since day one. Since they ever encountered a continent, they've shown shady tactics since day one. They've enslaved us. They've colonized us. They've raped, robbed, pillaged our resources, our people, our culture. They've corrupted. They've countless crimes. You can't count them all on one hand. So it only makes sense that, I know I can't do this without making wise alliance choices, wise agreements, the type of agreements that don't put me to shame, the type of agreements that don't put my people's lives at stake, but quite the contrary, puts their interest up front. Make sure that I can do, as their leader, that I can do whatever it takes to make sure they are safe, that their interests are safe, that their rights as a human being are safe and preserved. This is what this man has done from the jump street. I've got this link in the chat, family. Mind you that whatever we talk about, it needs to be regarding the topic at hand. As you see the title, Chasing Shadows, could U.S. action against Burkina Faso's beloved leader, Traore, lead to an embarrassing situation? I'm going to just say it that way. An embarrassing situation. So let's stay on topic. If you decide to click this link, let's stay on topic. And the question, the primary question is, what are we willing to do to back up our chance, to back up our protest, to add strength to our voices? Because if we remain strong, I'll tell you this, if we remain strong and adamant about what we're saying, the world is paying attention. And a country that boasts of being pro-democracy, boasts of being the peacekeeper of the world. How do you have a country like that then invade a country with a leadership loved by the world, where it's clearly that nothing you've said is true about this man? How do you then take that man out and live to tell about it and leave with not even being called a name on your way back home? How does that happen? Because all these other cases that we've talked about, from Sankara to Gaddafi, you name it, they were able to build up delusionment into the minds of people, into the minds of their allied countries and whatnot. So they had enough support that by the time they went in there and dealt with Gaddafi, he was already brought down low in the minds of some of the people. You understand? There was even a rumor that he was a cannibal. You understand? That he was a cannibal. Think about that. This is some of the rumors. I saw one clip recently where I think he went to Italy. I could be wrong with the country, but I think he went to Italy and requested models, numerous models, to meet him at a certain gathering point. Once he got to the gathering point, he started giving them dawah. That means he started teaching them the deen of Islam, right? And gave them all Qur'ans and whatnot and sent them about their way. Quite not what was expected to have happened. You understand? This is what Gaddafi was doing. This was the kind of character that he had. Even to such an extent, if I remember correctly, he authored a book containing advice of governing and whatnot the country. That's how sharp he was and how determined he was of trying to revolutionize Libya. Here we are with Ibrahim Traore, speaking and then living according to what he speaks. And not only does he speak to just anybody, he speaks to the people that need to hear and that need to be a participant of the country's interests, going to the tribal areas, going out to the village areas, not leaving no stone unturned, so to speak, talking to the people of high positions, talking to the people of low positions. I've watched him talk to students, little children. You understand? I've watched him talk to, elderly. And every time I will see him talk, his character is always the same. It's a sense of humility. When he's with elders, you see a sense of humility and respect that he offers towards the elders. When he's with children, a sense of meeting them at their level. Every time I see him step before a lady, he's taking his hat off and showing a sense of humility and respect to the sister. You understand? I'm just asking you, does this match the character that General Langley is talking about? Is that the same guy? I'm just asking questions here. I got the link in the chat. Please come and let me know something. Come and let me know something. What's going on? People are protesting. People are saying hands off Burkina Faso. But how do we back that up? What becomes our strength to back that up and embarrass the United States if they entertain even remote ideas of trying to remove or unalive Brother Ibrahim Traore? That would be the most embarrassing thing you could ever do. Unalive a man that you have no evidence for in any kind of way. There aren't any weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. You still unalive its leadership and broke and destroyed its leadership, leaving the whole country itself of Iraq humbled. You broke down. You unalived the leadership of Libya, so much so that you broke its country down to a humbling position, even to the point where it starts to practice old tactics of slavery, of enslavement, all over again. You understand? In contrast to what it was doing just before, when it had its leader, Muammar Gaddafi. So how do you How do you do that? Is this part of making America great again? In what way is this making America great? Are you talking about those mineral resources again? Is that what you're talking about? Enriching the pockets of the elites of America, making it great? Is that the America you're talking about, the rich elites? Or since the empire itself is on a major decline, clearly, because if you let's use the Ottoman Empire, for example. If memory serves me correctly, the Ottoman Empire, one of its signs of decline was when the elites started getting greedy. You understand? They not only did they started getting greedy, they started, literally, you started hearing reports of the Ottoman treasury being raided by, elite merchants and whatnot. That was all during the decline of the Ottoman Empire. They couldn't even fight in a world war during that time meaningfully. You understand? Because of how weak they started to become. I'm just noticing these things happening. Even other countries, even other major countries are seeing this weakness. You throw a tariff at me, let me throw a tariff back at you. Let's see who it hurts the most. Last I checked, you owe us a lot. All of your debt, China owns. Just like that cap that's made in China. Just like those shoes that's made in China. That purse made in China. Those jeans made in China. Well, Chinese material that you take and you stamp your label on it and sell it for 100 times the amount. I want to know, family. I want to know, what are all of these protesters, all of these unifiers, all of these people standing up in defense? The sister said, "Don't touch Ibrahim Traore, or you're going to see how we stand up." What are we doing? What actions and words would we manifest to ensure that hands stay off Brother Ibrahim Traore? Okay, the obvious is the case. We don't have any nuclear weapons, and many of us aren't unified enough to be in any way militarily adept or militarily ready, let alone having the think tank sophistication that might be required to know the wherewith and the where, how, and the what abouts. A lot goes on, and a lot is necessary, even just to operate a government, let alone maintain it and support and help defend the interest of that government. So when you think about the 20 achievements, that's what I'm saying. Think about those 20 achievements, and that's just 20 mentioned of Ibrahim Traore during his leadership as the president of Burkina Faso. Think about that as a country. Like I said, this isn't like being in one local city in Pennsylvania, for example, where someone opens up a Walmart down the street and say, "Oh, look, jobs." A single Walmart is opened up. You're talking about a man making a difference for an entire country. A man making a difference for an entire country through these actions. So I'm asking you, family, I need someone to come up here, break bread with me. How will our voices be heard to such an extent that they stick? I'm saying this for a reason, because we've been through certain angles of this path before where we would speak out. In fact, if you remember, there was a march on DC where people were protesting. They ended up spinning that up, watering it down, you understand, through manipulation. They ended up hijacking that movement, watering it down so that the people who were about to do something meaningful could not be as effective. You understand? And they've done this again and again. I want to show you something. This brings me to a not so long ago experience. Let me show you. Let's take this off here. I'm going to show you a brother who was becoming heavily influential in the United States. Heavily influential in the United States. I'm going to show you this brother. And I have a great deal of respect for him because this was an example to me of someone showing courage to stand up for rights, to stand up as a man, not afraid to manifest his right to self-defense, right? Let me show you, let me share with you a picture. Share with you this picture. This picture that you see here, this picture that you see here on your screen is of a brother known popularly as Grandmaster Jay. He founded a black militia, uh, the only black militia of our time, known as the NFAC, Not Effing Around Coalition, right? And was very influential with the movement, very motivated, encouraged people to realize their rights to protect themselves, encouraged people to, be active in unification, be active in their own communities, encourage people to unify. And he would present numerous lectures, numerous podcasts and talks or whatnot, building his case. You understand? And like many activists, many leaders, many people who are about that business, he didn't just talk, but he also practiced what he preached. You understand? He struggled or strived to demonstrate by example what his message was about. Where is the brother now? The brother Grandmaster Jay, aka John F. Johnson. He's locked up behind bars. This in response to some bogus charges that were planted upon him, that were framed upon him, rather. When, remember we were talking about how they like to take words and they will build a case off of those words, build something so that they can feel justified in the next moves that they make. Well, this was a clear example of that, because by doing this, the powers that be were able to mute for a moment, not completely silence. They didn't silence anything, but mute for a moment the momentum that the brother was building up. There was a lot of momentum. People were beginning to wonder what is he going to do next. There was a lot of inspired communities. You understand? And even some older communities started to regain new inspiration, right? So they had to lock the brother up. That's too much power for one man to have. Too much power for one man to have. We got to lock him up. And why am I pointing this out? Because this was an event that had a lot of elements surrounding it. They used people that looked just like you and me to belittle the brother, to falsely accuse him of things such as being a plant, being an agent. Many things he was accused of. All of these things pushed and supported and given a lot of attention. You understand? Through media, you name it. A lot of attention. So much so that it began to gain traction. You understand? And obviously you could consider that helped in their efforts to take him out of the scene. You understand? They didn't take his life, they locked him up. So Think about this. Think about the voices that to this day still speak up for the brother. It hasn't died out yet. It hasn't died out. I don't think it ever will die out. You understand? Because as long as there's in the hearts of people, the people that are represented by individuals like him, individuals like Brother Ibrahim Traore, individuals like many of the great leaders of the past and of the present, as long as there's the voices that are supportive of them, it can never die out. It can never stop, because there will always be Ibrahim Traore somewhere. The hope is that there's enough momentum behind an Ibrahim Traore or a Grandmaster Jay or a Thomas Sankara or somebody, enough voices behind them, enough energy, enough momentum that it cannot die. And even if, in the case of Ibrahim Traore, the prayer is that he cannot be touched. Imagine that. Imagine he cannot be touched no matter how hard they try to take and unalive him. Imagine every attempt failing every time, and then allowing him more time to fulfill his purpose. He's been given many exalting names these days because people are seeing him hang around. He's still here. He's still making moves. You understand? And he hasn't given up. And with as many as 20 attempts on his life, not even a glimmer of cowardice surfacing. Every time you see him speak up and stand up, it's with the same passion, the same regard, the same strength, the same voice. It's no wonder there's so many in support of him. So what I'm saying here is what are people willing to do to stand up for what they believe in? What are they willing to do to protect their interests? Here is the West talking about their interests. They're willing to sit there and either unalive him or remove him forcibly to protect their interests. Well, Ibrahim Traore's presence and existence is in the interest of the diaspora, is in the interest of Africa, is in the interest of Burkina Faso. What are brothers and sisters willing to do to protect your interest? What are you willing to do? Understand this, that all the same tactics that your enemy uses isn't always necessarily the same tactics that you need to use. Maybe, maybe not. But like I said, if the enemy relies on certain tools, certain weaponry of warfare and whatnot to achieve their aim, like I said, and it's never straightforward. It's always after they've painted a certain kind of picture, after they've convinced enough allies, after they've spread enough false propaganda, then they move in for the kill or for the capture. We don't have to take that example to defend our interest. You understand? One of the things that an arrogant superpower hates is being exposed. Being exposed in a way that they can't challenge, that they can't duck or dodge, or spin it around and twist it so that it sounds like it's in their favor when actually they're being called out for crimes. And the thing about this is once one crime sticks that they can't duck and dodge, that they have to be held to account by, then all the other crimes that they commit will start domino affecting, like a Pandora's box. And if excuse me, if the story of Set has any prophetic significance, so to speak, the story of Set is that all of the people that Set was ruling over corruptly, they used the system, the rules of the system to bring him down. They used the rules of the system. If you look at some of the countries today who have had enough of Western tyranny. One country right now is directly under threat of the West, and they've had enough, and they've made sure their alliances are tight. They've also made sure to refine their military prowess. They've also made sure to refine their intellectual capabilities as a country. So that way, should their enemies desire to make a move, they're ready to give it all they have to defend themselves. But here we are. Many of us are on the poor scale of the spectrum. We're on the poor level of the spectrum. Not all. Many of us, all we have is the hope in our hearts, the desire of a certain outcome, a desire for peace, a desire for unity, a desire that those who stand up in positions of leadership, representing us, representing justice, representing things the right way, that they don't get touched, that hands stay off of them, and that they're allowed to, rule and lead in peace. But that can't happen as long as this. See, here's the thing we need to remember is that all of these actions are contrary to the interest of entities that build and that thrive off of tyranny, thrive off of warfare, thrive off of mischief, thrive off of bloodshed. This kind of thing is contrary to the interest because it means you get stronger. You can't be controlled or be tyrannized if you're strong. You can only be tyrannized if you're weak, if you're brought down low. So seeing a strong man walk boldly across the continent of Africa, he was just recently in South Africa, the last report I know, walking boldly across Africa, shaking hands here and there. You understand? Every time he shows up in the country, there's major fanfare, major cheering, major recognition, major respect shown. That spreads like wildfire. That's too much power for one man to have. I'm saying that because that's the perspective of the Western powers that be. That's the perspective of the U.S. A strong, black, African, melanated man showing that he is in no way perturbed, no way afraid, no way moved by Western threats, by Western manipulations, and so on. Not bothered. I will operate as I see fit for the interest of my people. That's how he moves. That's a startling. That's a shaking way to be. You understand? That's a shaking way to be. They've got to find a way. The reason why they have to find a way to justify, understand why they need to have justification, because they know that this man has shooken hands with elites of other countries, and these countries, they play this war game a certain way, where they will say certain words or make certain agreements. Like think about the nuclear agreements. If you don't have any war of nuclear weapons in it, none of us will attack with nuclear weapons. If you use a nuclear weapon, we use a nuclear weapon. Those are the kind of agreements they have. If you attack with a proxy, a militia or group, we attack you from a militia group. If you attack direct, we attack direct. On and on and on and on it goes. These different stratagems where they fulfill based upon the choice of words that they use. That's why I say we have to pay attention to the choice of words that each of these representatives use on all sides. Listen to everybody's words. Listen to the general's words. Listen to the prime minister of Russia's choice of words. Listen to the leadership in China's choice of words. Listen to their choice of words, and you will know if you know how to interpret them properly, what's about to go down. You understand? Or if something is not going to go down. Because sometimes you'll hear a lot of hype and hoop and holler, and absolutely nothing happens because certain agreements have been achieved and certain lines have not, actual lines that they want to respond to have not been crossed. It was important for Ibrahim to shake Vladimir Putin's hand. It was important for him to make certain agreements, because the choice of words and the choice of words in those agreements, they have to stick. They have to stick, because to break those words is an act of war against said country for which the agreements are with. And these people play by those rules. They play by those rules. Shady albeit, they still play by those rules. And you'll see this again and again, even in that, as I was saying earlier, the Popal institution or system. They have rules that they play by, and they follow choice words, not just choice words, but choice symbolism. It wasn't at a random thing that this current this late Pope passed away at age 88, and you can go on from there with the symbolism, and that he is at the end of the list of supposed popes to be. These aren't random things that these people go by. There's systems or modus operandi that they operate, that they move by. You understand? This is how they get down. It's how they get down. Even, let me remind you, that camera, I want to find it, because I want you to see the camera angle. And I just want you to pay attention to everything that they show with this black man protesting, not being able to see the Pope, to pay his respects or what have you. Let me see if I can bring it up. And while I'm doing that, I just want to share with you a link. Some of you may or may not know, but I am involved with various activities with the design to help those in need, particularly the youth. And why is it important to me? Because oftentimes when you have these conflicts, when you have wars and things of that nature, the first people to get overlooked, tends to get overlooked tend to be the children. Their fathers, their mothers in some cases are on the line fighting, losing their lives. You understand? And sometimes the children end up becoming orphans, or sometimes because of manipulation, because of different actions in the powers that be, they influence the people or press the people that are under them to live a certain way, to struggle a certain way, so they have to fight for their food a certain way. Sometimes even you'll find parents that I've met, the children of, whose the parents have abandoned their children. They've left their children. They don't want nothing to do with their children for whatever reason. Maybe they're afraid that they don't have the means to sustain them. They don't have the means to provide for them. Whatever the case may be. Excuse me. Let me get some of this water. I've been staring at this water for a while, and I haven't even got something to drink from it. There we go. So what you see there is a link to donate your support to the Light Dome. The Light Dome is emphasized as being there for these said people, these children. And as I like to often say when I talk to folks, I said these children are people too. The children are people too. If we can stand up for adults that encounter complex situations, whatever the case may be, we should also have the same desire, the same passion, the same rigor for children, because oftentimes the children are at the front end of the suffering that the adults are fighting for in the first place. You understand? We stand up, we fight, we as activists, as you name it. We stand up, but what are we standing up for? We're standing up for our families. We're standing up for our unity. We're standing up for the lives of these children. You understand? If our standing up doesn't have anything to do to cover the lives of these children, then we should sit back down. If our standing up leaves them out of the equation, we should sit back down, because that means our fight is in vain. Our fight has to be mindful of the children, because that's what it's for in the first place. When we go out there in the street, putting boots on the ground, when we do any number of these things, it's because of our families. It's because of our wives. It's because of our children. It's because of our elders. It's because of our teachers. It's because of our people of knowledge. You understand? But it all starts with the children. It all starts. You can't get away from where it starts. It starts with the importance of providing and protecting our children. So you see the link right there. Why you look at that link? And if you have trouble accessing it there, you can also access it here. So there's two links you see. And I'll have them in the description after this presentation is done. And asante sana for any and all who find it in their heart to support. And understand that I understand that many of us in these days, because of the circumstances of the times, are going through it. Trust me. I know that we're going through it. Some of us worse than others. We're going through it. But fight that, and do what we can to show our support all the same. We have to break bread, even if all you have is one slice of bread. Pass that down to those lower. So let's see if I can find it real quick. See, they don't want to pop this up real quick. Anytime I type anything else up, it comes right up to the top. Okay, here we go. We got one example. So let's see. Let me share the screen. And I hope they show the whole when he's running out to when he leaves. But pay attention to the most important part of this for me is the cameraman. I mean, yes, I sympathize with any type of discriminatory actions, but that they are wanting us to see this. That's the thing you need to understand. A lot of this, those responsible, those behind it, they want us to see certain things. They wanted us to see General Langley say those things. They wanted us to see that. They wanted us to hear those words. They knew exactly what clip they needed to take out of that. You understand? They knew what strings to pull. You understand? If their objective is to try to get target Brother Ibrahim Traore, they know they have to be crafty. They know they have to be tactful. You understand? So they know they needed to pull some strings so that way it furthers their so-called justification. Let me see. Let's get to this string. African man denied access is what it says.
Right here, waited in line hours and hours to pay his
Somebody's talking about it.
Oh,
let me see here.
And he was denied access. Why do you think that is?
Let's see here.
Let's get it.
Okay. So look at that camera, right? I just want you to pay attention to that slow panning camera. Doesn't even quite seem like a smartphone camera. It seemed like an actual news camera right there. It's just panning so smoothly. but it's just conveniently there at that particular spot where this brother is going to come out from, the entryway that would have allowed him to see the Pope's body, the late Pope's body. And right now he's complaining about that. For me, it almost seems like they wanted to capture this almost as if they knew that this was going to happen. I'm not saying this brother himself didn't experience it. He may have well experienced that discrimination. But these people, you need to understand, this system plays a dirty game. They know how to prepare themselves for certain events. They know, like, we got a black man coming. We know that we need to behave a certain way and deny him because we already know how he's going to react. And we know that we want to capture that moment and show you, black brother, black sister, African brother, African sister, this event so that you can react a certain way, so that we can touch your nerves, touch your emotions. By touching your nerves, by touching your emotions, it's a lot easier to manipulate you. It's often been said in words of wisdom, he who controls your emotions is your master. Whoever controls you, whoever can make you angry is your master. And even like the security there is letting him rage a little bit, not manhandling him, not slamming him down to the ground. They wanted him to say his piece, his bit right there, and they wanted to capture it on this film. And understand that in connection with the other things that is tied to the same timing. In the same time that they're showing this, they're also talking about prospects of a black pope, the first ever black pope. Just to know all that, the first ever black pope to become pope. All the while this is happening. Now, if they're showing you a black man in anger for being discriminated, and let's say they wanted to also show you we're not racist. That was just a circumstance. We're not sure what happened there. We didn't know that was going to happen. That was just a coincidence. We're not really racist, and let's prove it to you. Next thing you know, you have a black pope. And that's what you would see on the surface, touching all kinds of Catholics across the world's hearts, from Brazil to the US of A to wherever Catholics may be. But what they wouldn't be telling you is what that means in their doctrine. I'm not talking about the populist doctrine. I'm talking about the doctrine that these people go by. They won't be telling you anything about that, what it would mean for there to be a black pope in the first place, what it would mean, that Pope 88 was supposed to be or said to be the last pope. So Pope 88, the pope that died at age 88, I'm talking about, if he's supposed to be the last pope, and yet they elect another pope who just happens to be a black man, what message are you trying to say? In a day and age where blacks all over the world are being put on the spot. You understand? South Africa is being ridiculed and shamed by the West for its stance on the land situation, trying to balance the land economy in South Africa to be more equitable to the people that are the majority there. And you name it, all across Africa, similar types of encounters are going on. I think one of the most recent one, it may have been Namibia, the Namibian president's position on rejecting visas from people coming from America. And I think that rubbed some people in power the wrong way. So now they're having something to do with that, something to say about that, right? So in an atmosphere, just understand the atmosphere where literally blacks globally are really being put in the forefront of the talk. especially the motherland. The motherland is like center conversation. Remember them precious mineral resources? Remember the conflict in the Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo over what? Mineral resources. On and on and on it goes. But you need to have a way to calm people down. You need to have a way to assuage emotions because now people are angry. You understand? What would make them angry? What would make a people angry, so angry that you would need to calm them down by great means? You got to target someone they love. You got to target a good man. Let's go back to the United States. Let's talk about Malcolm X. Let's talk about Martin Luther King. Men, righteous men, loved by the people. Loved by the people. And understand the twisted nature of the devilry here. The twisted nature of a people who exploit the idea of a sacrificial lamb, of a crucified Messiah. Understand what I'm saying here. This is what they go by. This is the methodology that this wicked entity goes by. These are the symbols that they live by in the face of the Most High. And understand what I'm saying. All the pieces are right where you would expect them to be. You've got a greater hero than Africa has ever known in our particular time in the form of Ibrahim Traore. So if something were to happen to him, obviously people would be enraged. Now, what if I were to tell you that a significant population in the southern parts of Africa are predominantly what? Christian. And not just any kind of Christian, but Catholic. Many of them in love with the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traore, as well as many of us Muslims. But I'm pointing this out for a reason. Pointing this out for a reason. Imagine a bunch of angry, enraged Christians in Africa. Then imagine the papacy administration looking at not just any pope, but a pope who just happens to be from where? Africa. Suddenly being raised to the ranks to the papacy. Being raised to the ranks. Remember, we're not racist. See, there's a black pope. You never thought, you didn't think there was going to be a black pope. Now imagine the emotions. They were just yesterday enraged because you messed with their loved one. And because they do this wicked spin on a sacrificed Christ ideology, now they've got to calm down the population. Calm down, folks. Look, there's a black pope. Look at him. Look at the black pope now. Are you happy now? The highest position in Christendom, in Catholicism, Western Catholicism, the papacy. And not only would he, be black, but obviously they would want him to speak in a way that's soothing to his likeness. Soothing to his likeness to calm them down. But he will still have to carry on the agenda of the powers that be, which means while he has the presence of a lamb, he has to speak the voice of the beast. He has to speak the voice of the beast because their agenda has to be done. It's their will be done on earth. So it goes back to me asking, what are the people of the Most High? What are the diaspora? What are the Africans? What are all these people speaking in protest in defense of Brother Ibrahim Traore? What are they willing to do? Because I can tell you one thing. The shenanigans of devilry, it can be broken. It's not inevitable. They portray their behavior as though it was inevitable through manipulating you, making you believe that, for example, they are stronger than they actually are, that they are in places that they are not, that certain events that are happening in earth are somehow divine, if you would, like papacy related things, all tactfully orchestrated so that you are convinced that their plight is divinely guided. You understand? Divinely sanctioned. All aspects of it. Their alliances with whom they ally with, the genocides that come at the hands of said alliance. All these things, all these ingredients are all linked to the same bodily operation. You understand? I'm throwing these projections at you for the sake of being mindful, being thoughtful about the kind of adversaries that a right-minded or righteous soul might encounter in this life. And by saying that, I'm talking about the people who have it in their heart to be about the right thing. Isn't it interesting that so many of us that are seeing this situation surrounding Brother Ibrahim Traore, there's a common voice being spoken? Think about that. A common voice, is like a common spirit. A common is like having one mind about a thing. A common agreement that you've seen a righteous man in the position of authority, and not just any righteous man. Understand, a righteous black man in a position of authority, a righteous African man in a position of authority in Africa, making strong, powerful moves on a daily basis. Your heart has been touched. Your mind has been excited and inspired. You understand? And your body is ready to move. Be aware of how this enemy moves. They don't care about how you feel. They will use your feelings for fuel. You understand? To continue perpetuating their agenda, which its end game is the defeat of you, black man, black sister, black man, woman, black man. The defeat of you, African diaspora, African brothers and sisters. The defeat of us all as a people, the original inhabitants of this world. That's the end game, believe it or not. You don't have to take my word for it, but it's in your Bible. It's in your Quran. It's in, the patterns throughout history. You understand? Through and through and through. When we start restoring and embracing our stories again, when we start reminding ourselves of the history of our ancestry, of what we've been through, what we experienced, because these are things that are in our favor. We are able to communicate in a way that we could not communicate before. You understand? In a way that we recognize the enemy clearer than ever before. Those with eyes to see. Those with eyes to see recognize. And now the enemy is so emboldened because many people, a significant number of them, are dumb, deaf, and blind. They don't see. They don't really understand it. They're still living as if what is not still living in Disneyland. This is the reality that those who pay attention can clearly see. Not be afraid of, but they can clearly see, and in so seeing, be aware of and respond appropriately. So you who stand up for, the justice of righteous people, if my advice would be for you to gravitate towards the righteous people of knowledge, the people who have a greater awareness of what's going on in the world, and in so doing, you would have the proper knowledge of how you should respond, how to back up your words of protecting your loved ones, protecting the leadership, as we're talking about now, of Burkina Faso. You understand? You need to know. You need to know. Feeling the passion, the desire to protect a loved leadership, a loved power represented through us is one thing, but having the knowledge of how to protect it and maintain it is a whole nother thing. Dear family, I think I've said enough at this point. I was really hoping that somebody would click that that link and give me an opinion about the matter, because like I said, we've been through this examples of this road before, where we stood up looking to defend strong leadership rising amongst us. You understand? Strong examples of Black leadership. We've been down this road before. We've been here before, and everyone knows well how those events turned out. We know how those events turned out. What are the people willing to do to ensure that this event doesn't have the same outcome? You understand? Because the reason why that's important is because within each individual is something unique. And because it's unique, that means it would never repeat the same way ever again in humanity. Once it's gone, it's gone. You may get something else that has something similar, but never the same. You understand? Never the same drive, never the same quality, never the same kind of energy. Is not the same car anymore. So the way that car used to drive, these cars are not like that car. You understand? That's the unique aspect about each of us as an individual. The way you paint a picture, artist, is not like anyone else. Even if they painted the same exact picture, your picture is unique to you. The way you sung that song, sister or brother, that style, that way is unique to you, even if someone sings a song imitating your style. We are unique in this way. And so the knowledge, the experience, the wisdom that you gain, and how you manifest it, how you interpret it throughout the world is unique to you. This is why they say the loss of a learned one. You understand? This is like the greatest the greatest danger of the world. It's like the loss of an entire nation. It's like the loss of thousands of people. Just the loss of one scholar, one learned man. Is a great traumatic experience. You understand? A great terrible experience. So I'm saying to you, when you see something like this, and you haven't seen it in this way, of this magnitude, through anybody else, even all these other great leaders, You understand? They had their own unique style and method. There is no other one like Thomas Sankara. Thomas Sankara is Thomas Sankara. We say that people have said that Ibrahim Traore is like or similar to, or in the have similarities, but they're both two different individuals. Now, Thomas Sankara has passed on, so there will never be a Thomas Sankara. But now what you have is an Ibrahim Traore. And if this is valuable to the people, if this is the diamond in the rough, if this is the jewel of our day, you understand, this is the heartbeat, then you notice that when you have a heart, it's protected within the ribs from danger, from hurt. So this is the heartbeat of Africa in today's age. Then the body needs to do whatever it takes to protect its beating heart. Because if that beating heart gets destroyed, there's nothing else that's like this one. And for you to think that, oh, we'll just wait for the next person to show up. We'll just wait for the next Malcolm X, the next Martin Luther King, the next Thomas Sankara, the next so-and-so. These things don't repeat like that. There's never been, to this day, another Malcolm X. I have not seen anyone with the same ingredients to be able to say, though, this person is just like Malcolm X. Khalid Muhammad was Khalid Muhammad. He had his flair, his passion, but Khalid Muhammad was strong in his own right, was mighty in his own right. Malcolm X, Malik El-Shabazz, he was mighty in his own right, in his own way. This is the aspect that we manifest of the Most High. The Most High is unique, none like unto him. You understand? There's no other Ibrahim Traore. So if you value the brother, then you do what it takes to protect. You speak the truth about him. You spread that truth about him so that those who don't know are properly informed and not manipulated. Don't allow your organizations, don't allow your bodies of people, when you gather together, to be hijacked, you understand, by groups, agents from the powers that be. And so they hijack your movement and then make it into something else so that they get misled. Don't allow communities to be manipulated. Also, as I was saying earlier, you put your money where your mouth is, because at the end of the day, you know, an economy it needs financing. You understand? Any type of support group, any type of operation that's designed to support the interests of a people, it needs financing. It needs that kind of support. And protect all those people who are putting their lives on the front line for the very same. You understand? For the very same cause. Because anybody putting boots on the ground, anybody putting minds to the pen, to the book, standing up at the podium, standing at the chalkboard, whatever part we have to play, singing the song, you name it, they need to be looked out for, you know, and keep like a pyramid effect. You protect the one at the top. If you're going to protect the one at the top, you got to protect the one that's under him, the ones that are under him, and then the ones that are under that, and find your spot in that pyramid and help lift up the one that's above you. You understand? Without tarnishing or stepping harshly on the ones that are below you. You understand? You stand on their shoulders. You understand? And hold up the ones above you and keep that going. This is what we have to do. This is the kind of effect that we have to have with wisdom in this day and age to protect the people that we say that we love. Simple as that. Well, maybe not so simple, but it is the only realistic solution. It's the only doable thing that we can do is a pyramid upward level of support, starting from the ground up, grassroots, as they say, from the ground up. Close knit so that it cannot be infiltrated, It cannot be manipulated. It cannot be led astray. That's what you have to do. That's what has to be done. That's all there is to it. So I'm gonna, leave it at that. I'm gonna leave it at that. I think we're in a time, family. I'm gonna just say it like this, where the lessons are over with. There aren't any more lessons. It's now, what did we learn about those lessons? How do we manifest what we learned? We've been reading books. We've been reading all kinds. We've religiously, spiritually, philosophically. We've been reading and reading. We've seen examples. We've seen what happens when certain things happen. We've seen the outcomes of so many different things throughout our day and age. So the class is over with. Now it's time to take on the job. Now it's time to take on the job. The class is over. We've gotten our diplomas, those who passed the class. Now it's time to see if we deserve, you understand, the merits of our learning. Those of us that feel like we've reached that point, because so many of us, we've got so many YouTube channels where everybody's got something to say. All these scholars, all these medicine men and women, all these adepts and this and that, all over YouTube, all over IG, all over the place. You understand? People can show you how to do yoga, putting the legs in every different direction. People can show you how to run as an expert, how to work out as an expert, how to load a gun as an expert, how to do all kinds of things with expertise on these YouTube channels. Expertise. So we're bearing witness that we have mastered our class. So that would only mean that we must be in a day and age where it's now time to put your actions with your words. What are you made of? What did all that amount to? All your learning, all your knowledge, all your brilliance, what did it amount to? What does it mean now? My hope is that it means that we are no longer a people that can be ran over, that can be manipulated. You can't enslave us anymore. You can't colonize us anymore. That's the idea. And that we are humans. We're not secondary humans. We're not subhumans. We're not less than. And we're willing to defend that. We're willing to protect what that means. That's the position. That's the objective. Is to restore ourselves wholesomely. To restore ourselves wholesomely, to be 100% what it is that we are. Otherwise, your alternative is to be stuck as a slave. The man even himself, quoting Ibrahim Traore, we live to fight. We're here to fight. We will fight. And if you're not going to fight, then you will live as a slave. You live as a slave. I'm paraphrasing. You live as a slave. That's our option. And I will say this. I feel that we won't have any other opportunities to get ourselves right as a people. Because as you see, everything is advancing. Everything is progressing. Technology, this, that, you name it. So if we fail this, if I was to say it was a test, if we fail this last test of the class, there's no other test after it. If we fail, then we lose. Because the enemy will make sure that you can never do it again. The enemy will make sure that there is no possible way for you ever to get something like this off ever, ever, ever again. You will be neo-colonized to the bone. so many chips planted in your head and hand that you can't think on your own. You understand? So many ways to make sure that you are controlled. You understand? Absolutely. That's the outcome should you refuse to step up and be what it is that you are and protect the interests of that and and the interests of those who stand up in the defense of that. That's the alternative. That's the alternative. That's your options. Stand up and be a man and be a woman, be a black man, be a black woman, a melanated woman, you name it. Use whatever noble titles that we embrace these days. Stand up all the same. Or put your face down on the ground and be a slave. That's your option. And know that if you take that L, you will never be able to bounce back from that ever again. It's done. All you have to do is look at the evidence of time, and you will see, even now, as we fight to stand up, they've always had, the enemy always has this projection of being one step ahead. Yes, they are starting to be exposed. You understand? As one person put it, emperor of no clothes. They're starting to be exposed. But if they can get this off, if they can fool you yet one more time, one more final time, if they can get this foolery off one more time, they will make sure that they don't make the same mistake ever again, that they don't allow you to ever bounce back ever again. You will be slave, slave, slave with a capital S. But right now we have a choice. The choice is shown in the fact that there are brothers and sisters standing up, speaking out in the defense of Brother Ibrahim Traore. Wherever all these brothers and sisters are, I salute them. But I'm saying we need to put, authenticity with our words. We need to put resource to establish it, to build alliances, to tie it all together, to make it manifest real, to give it breath. You understand? Give it life. You understand? Our words, our emotions, all of that, it needs to have life, to be brought to life, to be resurrected. You understand? Okay, enough for now. I see. I see someone is on here. Let me invite you to the platform here. Give me a second here so I can put it. And let me remind you, brothers and sisters, this is a soul journey of life. We try to be respectful here and speak in a way that you would approve your own children listening to. You understand? Let's stick on the topic. And that's what you see as the title. Okay. I was going to click the link there, but I think he went away. I might have frightened him by my instructions or whatnot. If not, come back. I'll click your link to come on into the chat. And the initial question that I had is, how do we manifest our protest? How do we make it reality? How do we make it stick? What are we able to do, unified and all, right? Let's say we are able to unify, all across from sea to shining sea. And all our voices are in sync. How do we make it stick? What are we able to do in real time, in real effect, that makes our voices stick? That's the question. If you're wanting to come back, let me know. But in the meantime, I'm going to play a song that'll give you time to click this link. I put it back in the chat again in case it's been scrolled away up, something like that. Let's see. So there's that link. And I'll be right back with a song after the song. Let's see here. There we go. Screen. Oh, you know what? I think I should play this song right here. I was gonna play something else, but I'm gonna play this song.
ID, please. Let's take a moment for the ancestors. A lot was homeless in the bad weather, and that's the reason we should stick together. Cause with each other we do better, we can never settle. See, y'all people took a lot of beatings. Don't disregard the teachings, the heart is where I'm reaching. How is it so our people so deceitful? When we begging to be equal, tell me how we beat them. And everybody cannot be a leader. You gotta learn to follow first before you lead. Even anathema, they gon' have to fail. Tell me, can you really tell? Do your people really care? Let them know that I'ma be there. Make them see hell. Yeah. And we don't give up forever. No enemy ain't feeling me. Cause a remedy is what we really need. It ain't really hard to see. We got too many people. Just know that I never will leave you. And I'ma ride with my people to the end. That's just what it is. What it is. I'm going all about my quest, baby. With the boss, baby. Soul journey of life. Yo. ID, please. Woke up this morning and all came so crystal clear. The ancestral voice screaming loudly in my ear. Looking through these frame spectacles, a tactical perspective tells me more than meets the eye. Living amongst the pitiful, visual, blurry, the streets of the day. Hurry, trying to stay out the way. Really, the drive is inevitable. This ancient black skin's got me spinning parables and still ain't ready. Even though devil tactics no longer hide behind ghostly masks. Do you really have to add? I refuse to release my testicles. The best among us will be those who unify. Black thoughts over barbecue sauce, round table talk, art of war. I'm ready for battle. If my kinfolk still caught with the babble, blood is thick in the water. I believe in us till this fish bites the gravel. All I wanna do is see my people unify for real. Oh, broken nation, the pain heal. ID, please. Shout out to the NFEC. You begin. You see the bigger picture, go figure. A strong black community just tastes bitter to the likes of little tykes blinded by the great white hype whenever we sped up the fight. Wait, hold on. I got a question. What's a life worth living when the world you live in is made up of so many who can't see the difference? Standing up for your own versus the hatred and bigotry in a land that names to be for you and me. See the shining sea, the place is laced with the effects of the system and races. So when a black man stands up, instead he's told to put your hands up, then he gets choked up and broke up. There's no love unless you be from among the docile. Quick to throw in the towel, ducking and dodging to avoid fitting the profile. So I salute every black man and woman who understands the codes upon which we must stand. That reminds me, and I can never forget all those who stood up. in the comforts of life, just to defend your rights and respect it. Yet, where's everybody when it's time to really pull up and show up? Why can't we see that without true unity, there's no luck? Hold up, they locking the boats illegally, suit up and strap up. We gotta speak up and quit sleeping on the moves we need to take up. Wake up before you're next on the list to get hemmed up for real, bro. United States versus John Johnson. Free John Johnson. Grandmaster J. United States versus John Johnson. Free John Johnson. Grandmaster J. The United States versus John Johnson. Free John Johnson. Grandmaster J. United States versus John Johnson. Free John Johnson. Grandmaster J. This is a shout out to the general, a hell of an individual, and this is really pitiful. Put your ear to the stereo. I know this may be liberal, I'm hoping you listen close. And he stood up for the beat, so I hope you don't turn cold. This ain't no clout, chasing about facing. Oh yes, it's about race. So I'm saying we about making a couple outbreaks. Y'all say y'all better make sure he make it out. Saying it's about Jake. We don't mind breaking down every barricade. State to the federal. We see a bunch of cannabis, a system full of animals. We thinking they can handle it. They got the right one. Don't think we fighting just one, cause the righteous do come. I got a light with two, and they too dumb. Screw tight, but I'm about to lose one. See, we don't do fun. No, we gotta do something. Coming with a new front. And I see you dumb. It's a brand new revolution. We got a solution.
Love is unconditional. It's not something that comes with a guarantee. Unconditional love means that I don't expect perfection. Unconditional love means that I love you because you exist.
United States versus John Johnson. Free John Johnson. Grandmaster J. United States versus John Johnson. Free John Johnson. Grandmaster J. The United States versus John Johnson. Free John Johnson. Grandmaster J. United States versus John Johnson. Free John Johnson. Grandmaster J.
You all said that you wanted this love affair, and I told you I would never forsake you or leave you. And I said that even if you turn your back on me, I would still love you. Because of that, I was always told that when you're doing things that please the enemy, you won't have a problem in the world. But when you're doing those things that please the Most High, then you can expect that your address will be the only address that the enemy has.
Okay, so we're back live, and I don't see that anybody's joined the live. So that should give me another attempt to close out. And I'll simply close out like this. I want to say it like this. I believe we're in a day and age where we have progressed intellectually in many ways. We know a great deal more about ourselves. You understand? We developed technologically, and a significant number of us have an improved self-awareness. But at the same time, there's also a number of us that suffer from a lack thereof. I often tell people when I encourage them, I said, look, you don't just have a heart, you also have a brain. And for good reason. Because as much passion as you have for a thing, you also have to be intelligent about it. and move in a way that reflects said intelligence. Because while I can say that it's good to be brave and courageous, but what good is courageousness coupled with ignorance? Just as it's not good to be cowardly while being intelligent at the same time. You understand? It's a bad mixture. But courageousness coupled with intelligence, that's a powerful recipe. You understand? We're going to close out. I appreciate all those who took the time to view this live presentation. Be sure to click the like button, the subscribe button, take a visit to souljourneyoflife.org and show your support there for the Light Dome. And again, in advance, Asante Sana for those who show their kindness, their acts of kindness. And stay tuned till next time. You know, I did not know that I would actually be successful in preparing this live. You know, I put my notes together and everything. Then I was fighting with this small camera that I have. You know, my tech resources are greatly diminished and limited right now. So, you know, I wanted to see if I could do this with what limited resources I have. And I did something here. I'm not sure how strong the live feed was because I know the network isn't all that strong, but I didn't see any breakage or anything. So stay tuned. I have some other things, you know, in mind to share with you and show you that, you know, perhaps will benefit from intellectually and will bring us together, bring us closer in love together and peace together, and give us the courage needed to stand up for what's right and to stand up in the protection of those who stand up for what's right. This is your brother, Abdul Wadud, aka Questman. Another live soul journey of life, conscious social media. Dear family, have a gracious rest of your day wherever you are. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Shalom, Hotep, peace and blessings.
Bye.